really excited, Jay, about the closing of a large deal we've just completed with Oshkosh Defense, which is a major manufacturer of trucks and military vehicles, part of Oshkosh Corporation, which manufactures a wide range of different types of heavy industry vehicles, fire trucks, rescue trucks, cement mixers, garbage trucks, a lot of fire and military vehicles. And we are working with Oshkosh to bring about a new transportable wind turbine and renewable energy mission module. The title of the project is the Renewable Energy Mission Module. It will be towable into a forward operating base or disaster or humanitarian relief scene where a folding wind turbine can be pulled out of a crate and set up literally within a very short time and begin providing power to people who might otherwise be relying on fossil fuels.
How much power?
Well, we're looking at a nominal 20 plus kilowatt capacity in a strong wind. Of course, this is going to go into regions where you can't always be guaranteed of a strong wind. So the unit's designed to try and maximize its efficiency for lower wind speeds. So we're looking essentially to have a sweet spot in the 5 to 10 kilowatt range for a fairly constant, reliable output.
So what's the relationship of the PV that you have on this device and the windmill that you have on this device? They play at the same time? Are they coordinated? Do they play separately? What?
The solar is an enhancement to the power that can be provided by the wind. So in a good wind regime, you'll get a far greater amount of power from the wind turbine than from the solar. However, of course, during the day when there's good sunlight, you'll find that the solar kicks in probably in terms of total capacity. The solar is probably about 1/4 of the capacity.
What about at night?
Solar's not going to do so well at night, Jay.
Not usually.
The problem. Yeah, we're looking to find a way to fix that, but that might be a while. But at night, of course, the wind still blows, and the idea is to continuously harvest as much of the renewable energy resource from the site where the units are deployed. So runs 24/7, and of course at night wind is what it's catching.
What about storage? Any possibility of including that?
That's the way it's designed, is with a battery system. So everything is essentially charging a bank of batteries, and the smooth AC power is being drawn from the batteries.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Oh, that's hot. So what's the status of the deal on that?
Well, we're very pleased to have a great partner with Oshkosh. They have a fabulous R&D facility and incredible fabrication and manufacturing capabilities. And so the status is we are now fully engaged in the development process, taking what we started with as a concept in Hawaii, built a 1/4 scale prototype of the folding wind turbine device, and brought that out with Oshkosh to some trade shows. In fact, here at the Clean Energy Summit last year, as well as several other shows on the mainland, and got fabulous customer feedback, and now we've engaged fully with Oshkosh and the development team there, and we're scaling up the small prototype to a larger size unit for a demonstration.
Wow, that's going to be exciting. I hope you come to Clean Energy Day on June 4th.
Love to.
Okay, we'll be showing the movie that day. Anyway, so tell me more about natural power concepts. What else do you do? What else have you done? What else do you plan to do?
Okay. Natural Power Concepts is a little innovation center here in Hawaii. We're a small company, but led by a great team of engineers, modelers. Our founder, John Petrie, is an internationally acclaimed artist and inventor with many successes already behind him. What we're focused on is designing, engineering, prototyping, and testing for a variety of new types of wind turbines and ocean and hydrokinetic energy devices. What we don't do is large-scale manufacturing here in Hawaii. So we're more of a think tank, basically an incubator for new types of renewable energy designs. And we have a nice fabrication and prototyping facility. We have storage warehouse for the prototypes. We have a design studio. And what we're doing is trying to come up with the next best things and then take those to industry and license them and do the kinds of relationships we've started with Oshkosh.
So what kind of devices are you working on? As well as the device, the REM device you just described?
We've got a great library of intellectual property, a portfolio of more than 70 patent pending concepts that we have in various stages of evolution and engineering. But to stay focused, what we do is keep a very clear top 3 commercialization pipeline at any given time. So the top 3, now that we've successfully licensed our folding wind turbine technology, the new top 3 and the things that we're working on most furiously right now are a in-stream auger turbine river energy conversion device. So it's designed to capture energy from flowing water and or submerged for tidal currents. These are very reliable, predictable sources of firm power. And so we've got a great environmentally friendly device that we've designed that can capture that energy very efficiently. What we do is we've got a design that essentially leverages some very simple, very elegantly simple concepts to capture the flowing media and turn rotational shaft, and that torque is then fed through linkage to generators with gearbox. This one's gearbox driven as opposed to a direct drive system. And it's placed in the water and anchored off in the water with underwater electrical transmission cables. It can also be anchored above water through resistance lines. And so the beauty of this approach is it doesn't require a permanent installation on the seabed or on the riverbed. So it's easier to get in and get out of the water, easier to maintain, far less impactful to the environment for its installation. And so that's one of the top three that we're working on.
How do you deal with corrosion on that?
Well, there's a variety of materials science applications that we're looking at. A lot of what we do, since our founder is a pioneer in the aviation industry and has had extensive experience with a variety of aircraft protection mechanisms. He owns and flies his own helicopter, for example. There's a whole range of specialized materials, paints, coatings, reinforcements, things like that are applied in the aviation industry, and we're taking a lot of that straight over to the renewable energy industry and applying the same principles.
Okay. What was the next one you were thinking of?
The next of the top three is our rooftop wind systems. We've got a variety of devices designed and in the prototyping stage for capturing high-speed wind that blows up the tops of buildings. It's especially well suited for commercial applications and for high-rise office buildings, things like that, to leverage the fact that these gigantic structures actually function as sails. They're fixed, they're stationary, but the wind is nonetheless pushing hard against them and creating an accelerated wind effect near the tops and along the sides of these buildings. So we've got some very interesting, creative, and effective and highly efficient designs to capture that wind, and we're in the process of building them right now.
Oh, exciting.
And the third area of focus for us is in ocean energy, and at the surface, wave energy specifically, and we've got some very unique patent applications on articulating integrated buoy systems that can be used to generate electrical power, but they can also be used for a variety of other sources, and we're exploring other applications such as hydrogen production, desalination, and things like that can be done offshore in a relatively safe, low-impact way to achieve a significant benefit that helps the world's ecology and at the same time its economy.
And all of this sounds good for dual use.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. There's a high level of interest, I think, in applying some of these techniques for the military. Obviously, the very first one with Oshkosh is got a strong military market potential, and really all of these things. The military is the world's largest consumer of fossil fuels, and so there's that fact is not lost on them. I think there's a huge effort underway to reduce that consumption and to replace fossil fuels with alternatives, and so that's where we find ourselves really focused and hope to be able to provide some great solutions.
So Hawaii is a good place for you to be.
Hawaii's perfect. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, year-round, beautiful conditions for all types of renewable energy testing. We've got great sun during the day. We've got fabulous wave activity offshore. We've got wind. We've got geothermal. Hawaii truly, and I think obviously the Department of Energy has recognized it as such, is a perfect test bed for renewable energy development. Folks at the University of Hawaii, who you'll be talking to, I think, later today as well, have done a fabulous job of locking up Hawaii's position as one of two national marine renewable energy centers, and we're really excited about that and working with HNEI on some of the projects that we've got going too.
What are the challenges here? Do you have issues about capital? Do you have issues about bureaucracy? Do you have issues about community resistance? Tell me if you're running into any of those.
capital, bureaucracy, and community resistance. Capital, I think, is first and foremost always going to be a challenge in Hawaii. There's a mentality, I think, that, from people outside of Hawaii, there's a mentality that good things just can't happen here. And from people inside Hawaii, there's a mentality that good things can't happen here, So everybody seems to think that the only valuable technology advances come from outside our state, but I disagree. I think there's a lot of great technology advances that we can see and spearhead and lay claim to here in Hawaii. I think that capital is obviously going to be terribly impacted by the recent legislative changes with Act 221 going away, and I think it's short-sighted. I believe that program was working, and I think that it's unfortunate. It certainly affects our company and a lot of others like us. I do think that the key, though, to any of that, whether it's through tax credits or otherwise, the most important thing with capital formation is that the companies have a great opportunity and a great solid business plan to return to the investors. And whether, if they don't have that, then it's not going to make sense to funnel money into them in the first place, just for tax credits or otherwise. So I think for our company, capital is always something that we're looking to raise up to a certain point, and then we look to become self-sustaining and self-funded through the licensing revenues and other programs. The second part, what you asked about, was bureaucracy. I think the trouble with bureaucracy is I consider bureaucracy to be almost synonymous with indifference. And so, trying to cut through the bureaucracy or trying to establish some lasting, exciting, valuable program in the context of the bureaucratic process is really a challenge. I think there's no lack of good intentions there, but I don't know that we're getting a lot of support from or a lot of resistance from bureaucracy. It just happens to be something that's there, and we're, in our position, not heavily involved. We're not installing things. We're not really that reliant on policy changes to permitting, things like that, because we're kind of on the early stage R&D for the technologies we're working on. The last thing you mentioned, though, was the public sentiments and things like that, and that's an area where we feel strongly that there's a sea change occurring right now in the public with regard specifically to renewable energy, and I think that what used to be considered an eyesore is now considered a welcome sight. Gas is $4 a gallon. People are looking for alternatives, and I think John Petrie, our founder, when I first got together and started working with him, he hit the nail on the head. He said, Larry, I told him, John, some of these ideas you have are so, over the top. They're so creative. They're things that people would probably have huge objections to in the community, to see a gigantic, windmill out against the mountains. And he said, look, when people say not in my backyard, when their electric bill is $2,000 a month, they'll be screaming, please put it in my backyard. And I think that we'll see a change. That's more from a general public perception view. I think that there's always going to be a pocket of environmental and cultural concerns that some people take up and are passionate about, and for good reasons. But I think that over time, those kinds of concerns are going to ultimately find that what we're trying to do in renewable energy is advantageous to these same concerns. Folks who are interested in the culture, the alternatives are further erosion of culture through further reliance on imported fossil fuels. And I think that at some point we can be seen as a win-win for what we're doing, and I'm hopeful of that. And we have folks like great advocates, like Willie Kay, for example, is one of our on our team. As
a musician.
Yes, Willie Kay, the musician. And he's connected to the Hawaiian community and the local community in a way that so few people really are, and he is absolutely passionate about renewable energy and seeing these kinds of solutions. He knows people in rural Hawaiian communities are really feeling the pinch from the high cost of fuel, high cost of electricity, and reliance on this system that's ultimately not going to be able to be sustainable. So Willie's a great advocate, and there's lots of folks like him that are, I think when you look at specifically here in Hawaii, any cultural challenges or barriers, I always come back to thinking about how full circle really I think this technology comes in terms of meeting up with the visions and dreams of some of the early Hawaiian pioneers and leaders. King Kalakaua was a contemporary of Thomas Edison and was actually exchanging letters and correspondence with Thomas Edison in the 1800s, talking about how can we pipe geothermal energy from the Big Island over to Oahu and get electricity out of it. This is King Kalakaua, and I mean there's nothing in my mind that says that great advances in technology can't coexist with the dreams and vision of the early Hawaiians. I think they're almost unanimously in agreement with each other.
What about the people? I mean, what's your role in the company? What kind of staff, what kind of scientists, and are they from Hawaii, or are you bringing them in? Do you have challenges in personnel?
We're a small, excuse me, we're a pretty small company. We've got about 6 full-time staff, and we have several consultants and contractors that we work with. Personnel-wise, we've got an absolutely fabulous team in a way that's different from almost everywhere else I've ever been involved with, because everyone on our team provides such a very unique and specialized skill and role. So each piece of the puzzle fits together in our company very well. As far as our leadership, John, my partner in this venture, is a highly experienced inventor. He's a designer and builder of aircraft from the ground up, literally. He understands how to work with materials. He's an expert in composites, in fluid dynamics, and all of this from decades of personal experience and work in these industries. We have a fabulous staff of computer modeling experts, graphics, and as you saw in our video, great media production capabilities to tell the story, to explain the technologies. We've got some folks in Oregon, so it's not limited to Hawaii. We have part of our team in Oregon, engineering side, physics, and machine shops in Oregon that manufacture the parts for us so that they can get assembled here. We've got great craftsmen, dealing with blade shaping and carbon fiber composites and things like that. Any of our prototyping facilities, we've got highly experienced staff working on constructing these subscale systems. We've got great partners and great advisors. And so, Mike May from HECO is one of our advisors. We've got Mark Victor Hansen is one of the founders of our company. He's the creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul and is a fabulous marketer and promoter of new ideas. And so it's just an extremely well-rounded, gifted, and really talented team, and I'm really proud to be part of it.
So you're a principal, but what is your role in the company? What do you bring to the company, Larry?
Well, I'm the CEO, and at our company, I think it probably stands more for confused, exhausted, and overwhelmed most of the time. But really, what I'm trying to do is, I think I see my role mostly as almost a interpretive role, to take the brilliance that John and the creative team are generating with their designs and translate it out into fostering relationships, building alliances, finding partners, and telling our story. And I think that's what I do most.
So what are you making money now, or if not, when do you expect to make money?
We've I think fortunately beat our own schedule in terms of getting revenue in. So we have begun generating revenue in less than 2 years of operation, purely as an IP company. So I think that's a pretty good success. We've begun generating revenue, and we're continuing to foster new projects, new deals. I gave you the top 3 pipeline approach, and so we really have 3 business models in our company. We've got the licensing model, in which we take a concept, bring it up to a certain level, and license it off to industry. The next model is a joint venture model, in which we participate along with a consortium of other organizations, typically focused around a single project, and it can grow from there. And then the spin-off model, which we're currently and actively exploring for 2 of the different technologies that we're working on. In that context, we set up an entirely new entity, and that becomes a new company focused singly and solely on a specific technology, and goes to take that all the way to market.
Tell me what I would see if I go into the future, look 3, 4, 5 years from now. What do you look like, and what does the energy industry look like?
Well, I think within 5 years, we hope to have successfully spun off at least 1 to 2 successful companies, each focused on its own individual line of technologies. Within the industry, I think within 5 years, we're going to see some dramatic advances in battery technology, energy storage technology. I think that the growth of distributed energy and off-grid applications is going to continue and trend upward. I think small wind systems are taking hold already and will continue to have a pretty meteoric level of growth. And then you've got larger projects, like the OTEC project and the bigger utility scale renewables, the things that are planned here in Hawaii with underwater transmission cables and things like that. I think that will come to fruition and become something that, even though there's a high upfront cost now to look at them with a 30 to 50 year mindset, and eventually they become something that we can't imagine living without. And so I'm optimistic that great gains in storage technology, increases in efficiency for solar, and innovations like what we do at Natural Power Concepts to bring new types of technology to market are all going to take hold and grow.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out exactly what will rule the day, but you know that there'll be new and creative technologies. One of the issues, or a couple of the issues that have come up in our travels, Sharon Miyashiro and me, is whether it's going to be small or large. Say in that same period where the future will emerge, and one school of thinking seems to be that it'll be small, that it'll be a unit on top of your house, and you can have batteries and separate from the grid and be fine all by yourself. And then the second school of thought seems to be no, it'll be utility, scale or production. It'll be the underwater cable, and it'll all be connected. So I guess it's the little guy and not a lot of connection, or the big guy, the big investor, the big money from somewhere else, and lots of connection. Which way, Larry, do you think it's going to go?
Well, if I had to bet on only one or the other as far as a long-term future, I would probably go the little guy. I would probably say that the energy production will continue to get closer and closer to the points of consumption, and that ultimately there will be fairly easy access. So if I were to look, 100 years into the future, I would say it's far more distributed than centralized in terms of energy. And I think that there's already a trend in that direction, but the people who are off-grid, quote unquote, are still on the fringe. I wouldn't be surprised at all if 20 years from now, net zero homes and LEED Platinum it becomes standard, and that you use the grid only when you need the grid, and the rest of the time you don't have any reliance at all on the grid. And I'd say that the big advances, the breakthrough technologies, when we think about, Back to the Future and Mr. Fusion, right? And, the little nuclear generators and powering your car and things like that, those are all when the really game-changing technological advances, I think, are going to be the ones that bring power production closer to the consumer and make it, almost free energy at the point of consumption.
So if it does go that way,
I've already got my order in for the Mr. Fusion device.
Exactly.
I saw that signed up on the back of a comic book a long time ago. I'm still waiting for it to arrive.
If it does go that way, Natural Power Concepts is perfectly situated, isn't it? Because you could design, develop, and through one methodology or another, you could deploy small items, small production devices to make the world run on natural power.
We'd love to see that happen. And there's always going to be a need for a community-wide power source, I think, and what form that takes and how the grid evolves and how the smart grid changes the game and things like that are always it's going to be interesting to watch and see how this all comes out. But there's a lot of encouraging advances already going on. You've got the Bloom box. You've got the great advances in biofuels. I'm very hopeful, very optimistic that the problems that our society has created for itself can be fixed by the same kinds of efforts and inventions and intuition and just good old innovation that brought us to the Industrial Revolution in the first place.
The other thing is about capital. I mean, we took a hit on the loss of 221, but do you think that Hawaii will ultimately be able to raise its own capital, or will we always be dependent on capital from sources on the mainland or elsewhere?
Well, I think that when you look at the idea of Hawaii raising its own capital, a lot of times I think what happens is people, highly moneyed individuals, the angel type capital, that isn't typically money that's generated in Hawaii. It's people that come from success on the mainland. So you could argue that capital is even that capital is being generated on the mainland. As far as raising our own pools of resources and capital here through commerce and through economic successes, certainly there's some level of that going on. But I would say that the money is probably always in some form or another going to be more available and more prevalent on the mainland than it's going to be in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I'd like to think differently. I don't see Hawaii as becoming a significant manufacturing center or our economy is somewhat limited in what we can count on, but that's certainly our company, Natural Power Concepts, believes that Hawaii can import great minds and export innovation and bring, and we don't even have to necessarily always import. A lot of those great minds are right here already and homegrown, so to speak. And I think that the innovation economy is feasible. That's something we're trying to show lead by example. And I think that eventually sustainability for companies like us is possible. And I think it's even likely that we'll get there without 221, without reliance on government contracts and things like that. I think we can get there by ingenuity and innovation.
What about land? Do you have a facility now? Do you contemplate a facility or a larger facility in the future?
We have thought about a larger fabrication facility for our prototyping.
You do have something now.
Yeah, we have. We're currently spread across 3 different facilities. One we work out of an old residential place in Makiki that used to be a house and now it's an office. And then we have downtown in Kaka'ako. We share some space for a warehouse and fabrication workshop, and then we have storage space for our prototypes. So we would like to get into a larger, integrated facility where we have housed all of our operations in the future. That would be nice to do.
This is a little random, but I don't remember how much you gave me on that ocean power thing off Maui.
Uh-huh.
But could you give me something on that and where that's going and whether that's mainstream for you?
The project, and I don't claim to be an expert on that particular project. Ocean Links is one of a handful of companies in the world that have successfully demonstrated wave energy conversion technology to the point that can be considered ready to commercialize it. So I give them credit for that. You saw in our video that it's actually their approach is virtually identical to a concept that our founder John Petrie had actually prototyped and submitted patent applications for in the 1970s. It's a air pressure scheme that utilizes the rising and falling waves to generate positive and negative airflow and turn turbines. It's a very practical and very effective approach, and I am encouraged that they're getting it out there and fielding it. As far as the project on Maui, I don't know a lot about it. I believe that the total capacity is in the, I want to say 2 to 3 megawatt range, and I'm not sure of the status of that development right now. I know that it had been announced, I know it had been planned, and whether it's continuing, I'm not really sure.
Another random thing. So IP is an important part of your product, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So you're always interested in protecting and getting patents and other protection if you can.
Sure.
And so the licensing or other
You bet.
possibilities. So are you using local legal talent for that, or are you on the mainland for that?
Well, actually, we have an in-house patent attorney, and we're very fortunate to have brought this person on to our team. He was from Washington, D.C., was a partner in a large law firm, international law firm in D.C., has 20 plus years of patent law experience, and has written and argued major patents for major international corporations. And so he's fabulously talented, has a background in engineering, electrical engineering degree, has done turbine testing for engine manufacturers, and just perfectly dialed into what we're doing. And we were very fortunate to build a great relationship and bring that talent in.
That's great.
Yeah.
If I get very excited about natural power concepts, and I want to join you, what should I study? What should I learn about? How do I prepare myself for the moment of interview?
Well, I mean, as a company grows, there's going to be a variety of different disciplines that we need to bring on, and from engineering and specifically electrical system design is an area that we think is going to be a good area for people to get into. Certainly, marketing and business development help is always good to have good people involved with. Writing, technical writing, proposal writing, all these are all things that are important. One area that I see, and I was asked this question on a panel recently about, what types of studies can people do that'll help them find jobs and careers in renewable energy. And an area that I think is a little bit underserved right now is in resource assessment, and people two things. Well, one is going in and doing energy efficiency studies for customers to understand how they can conserve, how they can cut their energy costs. And this doesn't relate specifically to our company, but just as a response in general. People who become very good at energy conservation studies and energy resource assessments that can help organizations determine whether it would be smart for them to install new renewable energy devices. That's going to be something very important. For our company, we're more of a design firm, and so we're going to always be interested in the engineering and design types of skills. We're not selling a product to the same way a solar panel manufacturer would be. But I think in general, people could do well to start studying those kinds of things.
What did you study, Larry?
I'm a communications person, so I came into this not from the technical side, but from more of the communications, marketing, business development side.
It's very important.
Yeah.
It's one of the problems we've had. I think it's been a challenge for the whole industry, to not have communicated fully to the public on the technology industry.
I think it's tragic that the technology industry has allowed itself to become pigeonholed by the public into, I think certain perceptions of that we're this or we're that, quote unquote, collectively. And in fact, it's a diverse and wonderfully creative and highly an industry with incredible potential. And it's great for Hawaii, and I think we've all known that for a long time, but communicating that effectively has been challenging, and I would love to do whatever I can to help change that tide.
Well, the thing about your company that strikes me after talking with a number of companies in the energy space is that you are into pure creativity, pure innovation. You're not locked into anything.
Albert Einstein said the greatest scientists are always artists first.
I'm sure John Petrie would agree.
I think John would agree. And all of us, we've all, for the most part, got creative, artistic backgrounds. All of us double on something as, musicians. First career was as a musician. Our computer modeler, the same. We've got a lot of, right brain and left brain going on in our place.
Yeah, Willie K.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did I miss, Larry? Is there anything else we should cover?
Well, I think when you asked me about bureaucracy, I might have almost downplayed its impact in our organization. But I think that actually that the bureaucratic process could improve and could be much more effective in helping lead the state and the world even in showing how to really truly get behind innovation and speed the processes and make dollars and resources available. I think that I almost write it off as not even worth considering because there's not a good track record of seeing that happen. But I think if ideally, I mean, that would be something that could